Hi and welcome back. I just crossed over the border from Türkiye to Georgia into the city of Batumi, where I spent a really nice day exploring the city. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to get here, where I stayed, and a few things that I think are worth doing. Also, I'll tell you some food you should try and how much things cost. Cheers. If you're new here, my name is Kyria, and Georgia is actually the 60th country that I've been to in the last 26 years. In 2024, I decided I liked traveling so much that I retired early and am now traveling full-time. Georgia is a small country on the crossroads of Europe and Asia, and it borders Russia, Turkey, Armenia, and Azerbaijan, as well as the Black Sea. I've been wanting to visit Georgia for years because you may know I'm an avid hiker, and Georgia has a lot of opportunities for hiking, including sitting on the Trans-Caucasian Trail, which goes through Georgia, Azerbaijan, and Armenia. It's home to a lot of unique traditions, world-renowned wines, and is known for its warm hospitality of its people. The city of Batumi sits on the Black Sea and is the second largest city in Georgia. It's a blend of old world charm and strangely modern architecture and has a resort town vibe. It's known for its beach promenade, eclectic skyline, and subtropical climate. And it's a favorite summer getaway for Georgians and is a gateway to the nearby mountains and national parks. Georgia allows a 90-day tourist visa out of every 180 days for several nationalities. And for many, including US citizens, it actually allows a 365-day tourist visa, which makes it a great place to come if you're considering being a digital nomad or maybe trying it out for retirement. To get to Batumi, you can fly into Batumi and take the bus into the city center, which takes about 20 minutes. Or you can take a Bolt, that's a very common app to use in Georgia for ride shares. Or you can get a taxi straight from the queue at the airport. You can also take a train to Batumi. Batumi does have a train station, and trains do come from towns like Tbilisi or Kutaisi. The station is about 5 kilometers or 3 miles away from the city center. So again, you could get a Bolt or a taxi or use local transportation to get into town from there. What I did was I came from Türkiye, so I came across the Turkish border on foot. So I'll tell you a little bit about that. Basically, what you have to do if you're coming from Türkiye is get to the town of Hopa, which also sits on the Black Sea. From the town of Hopa, you will get a dolmuş, which is a minivan, to the town of Sarp, which is still in Türkiye and right on the border. In Georgia, the corresponding town is called Sarpi. So once you get to Sarp, you get off the dolmuş and you walk into the administration building, and you have to go through Turkish exit customs. That's a very quick process. After that, you go through a whole lot of escalators down and up and moving walkway kind of things through this whole maze of escalators, and then you get to the Georgia customs. Once you go through the Georgia customs, you'll be in a little entryway that is still inside, so you haven't quite exited yet. In that entryway, if you do want to get cash out, there is an ATM. It does charge 5 lari to get cash out, but I have the Fidelity card, and so I get reimbursed for that. So I got money out there. The other option you have is to change money once you walk outside, but the exchange rate isn't super favorable once you get there. You should definitely do it in town if you have the opportunity to do that instead. Once you leave the building, you'll see the marshrutkas, which is basically the minivan of Georgia, and you'll see the little sign in the window that says Batumi. You need to just get onto one of those, and the cost for that is 2 Georgian lari to get into town. The marshrutkas usually run a prescribed route, and sometimes it's hard to kind of figure out what the route is, and so you can just get off at the bus station once you get into town. But what I like to do is I'll just pull up Google Maps, and I will kind of watch my dot and see if the marshrutka gets close to where I'm trying to go, and then I just wave at the bus driver or stand up and start kind of moving forward to the front, and they'll stop and let you off wherever you want along the route. So that's what I did. I didn't go all the way to the bus station because the marshrutka went down the main street and my hotel was down the main street anyway. There's also a city bus system in Batumi. However, there are numbers on the buses, but then the writing is in Georgian. It's not in Roman alphabet. So it is kind of hard to see where you're going unless you know definitely the number of the bus that you want to get onto. However, it's super easy to walk around, and if you're staying in the city center, everything is pretty much walking distance. There's a huge beach promenade along the beach, and it's about 7 kilometers long. So if you're looking to walk or run or bike ride, you can go on there. And then the Old Town section is very close to there as well. I stayed in the center of town in a guest house called Irise, I-R-I-S-E, and it was nice and centrally located. So I chose the hotel that I chose because a lot of the privately owned ones were a little bit farther down the beach. So if you're looking for a beach vacation, those would be perfect because they're very close to the beach. However, I was only going to be there for one day, and I wanted to make sure I was walking distance from the bus station that I needed to take the next day. So I kind of made myself a little bit more central in town so that I would be able to just walk everywhere and not have to worry about trying to get a ride the next morning. Like I said, my place was very simple, but it only cost 50 lari, which is about 18 US dollars, and so it was pretty much exactly what I needed. I'll give you a little tour right now. Welcome to Batumi. So I just checked into the Irise Hotel. So in Batumi, a lot of the lodging is private. So you'll notice it's all of them on booking, but a lot of them are by a private host. I actually wanted a hotel because I wanted to be able to leave my luggage because I thought I was going to get here really early. In the end, I didn't get here that early. I got here at like 1 o'clock and the check-in was 2, so probably wouldn't have been a problem to just have a private one. But anyway, I just wanted that peace of mind. Another note is that pretty much all of them are cash only. So you can filter the booking with pay now. If you pay now, it will charge your credit card through booking usually. But a lot of them are cash. So make sure you have cash. I just crossed the border. There is an ATM. There's a ton of money changers. So I'm actually gonna go change my lira into the Georgian money. So that way I won't have any more lira, which, you know, don't want to be carrying that around. But anyway, let me carry on. Here's my place. It's very cute. Quite big. Plenty of space. Plenty of beds. There are outlets by the beds. Oh, I forgot to show you. I might as well show you this since I'm standing right next to it. The best part. Balcony. Refrigerator. Kettle. That's great. So one tip I have about traveling is I always carry some instant coffee with me. You never know, and this place, like for instance, doesn't have breakfast, but you never know what they're gonna have, and I always just have it with me just in case. Like today, the place I stayed last night only had tea and I want a coffee. So I just used their hot water and used my own coffee to have coffee. So you just, if you like coffee, it's nice to have it with you. And the instant is just very easy. You don't have to worry about carrying extra stuff or whether or not you have the proper tool to make real coffee. So carrying on. I have a full couch, lots of heat. And let's see the bathroom. Okay, got some things. Hair dryer for those who care. And let's see. All right. Anyway, there you go. Welcome to Batumi. Now I'm gonna go explore. All right, let's go hit the town, eh? So now that we've done that, like I said, the place that I stayed was pretty much walking distance to all the attractions that I needed. And so I'll go over those in a minute. Just a quick another note about cash. You do have to have cash for the transportation and the accommodation, but the restaurant that I went to did take cards. As far as safety goes, Batumi is incredibly safe. It has a crime index of 21, where lower is better, and a safety index of 79, where higher is better. So extremely safe. I walked around on my own, even early in the morning to get to the bus station. Didn't feel unsafe at all. In fact, when I was walking to the bus station in the morning, there was a guy like sweeping the street and he yelled out at me like, "Oh, where are you from?" And I was a little hesitant, but I said, "Oh, the US." And he's like, "Yes." You know, so I think people are very friendly and willing to help you if you need it. As far as language barrier goes, at the restaurant that I went to, the menus were all in English and the servers spoke enough English to get by. So no issues there with language barrier. However, On the marshrutka, the driver doesn't really speak English, so when you want to get off, you kind of just have to wave them down and make moves like you want to get off, and they'll understand what you're asking. But they do speak Russian, so if you speak Russian, then you can also speak Russian to them in some cases. For the weather, I was here at the end of May, and it was very mild, very nice weather, not too hot, not too cold. People were swimming. The water was a little bit cold still, but totally really, really nice weather. For medical care, you'll have no issues. The medical care is good, and there's plenty of facilities. As far as food and water safety, food and water are good. You can drink out of the tap, and then there's drinking fountains on the streets as well. There's no U.S. Embassy in Batumi, but there is one in Tbilisi, which is, depending on what kind of method of transportation you're using, could be about 6 hours away. All right, let's go over some of the things to do. Definitely, there are two main areas you should go to if you have little time. The first one is the Old Town, and the second one is the beach. So in the Old Town, you'll find things like Wharf Square, which is kind of a central plaza with some ornate buildings, and also the Piazza Fountain. In addition, there's some McDonald's there if you're interested in that, which I feel is kind of interesting because that's some prime real estate right there. You'll also find the Batumi Piazza Square, which is an Italian-inspired square, and it has lots of restaurants with open-air seating and even a stage for live music. Right across from that is the St. Nicholas Church. And just note that there is a dress code to go into the churches, and so if you're a man, you need to take off your hat, and if you're a woman, you need to cover your head. And also, you should not wear shorts regardless of your gender. If you don't have a head cover, they usually have scarves at the door that you can use to cover your head. Speaking of churches, the next thing is the Holy Mother Virgin Nativity Cathedral, which is a mouthful. It's a really striking gold-domed Orthodox cathedral built in the early 2000s, and it's known for its modern take on the Georgian architecture. The next place you should go is the Wharf. If you want a boat trip, they have like party boats and paragliding and things like that, parasailing, whatever it's called. And so that would be the place to go to book anything like that. But it also has dining and shopping and ice cream. Near there is the I Love Batumi sign, which is a giant red sculpture spelling out I Love Batumi. And of course, people like to go there for their Instagram photos or whatnot. Also nearby there is the Batumi Lighthouse, which is a nice, small, picturesque lighthouse sitting right at the edge of the point, and it has scenic views and nautical charm. Near there is the Ali and Nino sculpture, which is now kind of an icon of the city, but it's a metal sculpture that's supposed to depict the love story of Ali and Nino, and it even rotates slowly, which I didn't notice when I was there, but that's apparently what happens. Of course, then you'll be at the end of Batumi Boulevard, so you can walk along Batumi Boulevard, which is also the beach promenade. There's plenty of things to eat, art installations, parks, and like I said, there's both a bike lane and a walking path if you want to get out for a stroll or some exercise. Also, there's plenty of green spaces, parks, and the beach is right near there. So speaking of the beach, Batumi Beach is the next thing. It goes all along the promenade, and there's plenty of things to do. There's lounges, there's eateries, there's activities and stuff like that. The fishing pier is on Batumi Beach, and of course you can fish off of it, but when I was there, a bunch of kids were jumping off of it. There's also a ton of art along the promenade. There's the motorcycle riders memorial. There's also the engaged statue, which is a romantic sculpture of a couple embracing that lights up at night. There's also some very strange buildings. One of them is the Alphabet Tower, which is a 130-meter tall spiral building celebrating the Georgian alphabet. It also has a viewing platform with a panoramic view of the area. And then there's the Porto Batumi Tower, which is kind of a sleek, modern skyscraper, which has an interesting design. And then for eating, I went to a restaurant called Caravan, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, where I got the regional specialty, which is the Ajapurin Khachapuri. So what this is it's a boat-shaped bread, and it has cheese in it, which is normal. So khachapuri normally is bread with cheese, but in this case, after it's done, they crack an egg on it and put a pat of butter. And so it's a regional specialty for the area, and it's shaped like a boat because it is depicting the sea and kind of an honor to the fishermen. And so it's worth a shot trying. I also tried one of the local beers, which was delicious, and I had a great time just sitting outside watching the people walk by and enjoying my food. So let's wrap it up. All in all, I spent 2 Georgian lari for the marshrutka, 50 lari for my accommodation, which is about $18, and 20 lari for dinner and a beer, which is about $7.25. So my whole day of fun in Batumi cost me about $33 in total. If you found this video helpful, you should watch this video where I talk about my time in Türkiye. And let me know in the comments, have you ever been to Georgia? Have you been to Batumi? If so, what did you think? And if you haven't been, is Georgia on your bucket list? Also stay tuned because my future videos will be talking a lot more about Georgia. And once again, thank you very much for watching and happy travels.